our hearing and chanting and our devotional service, like different services we're going to do. So there needs to be some balance.
It's a good point. Because surrender is it's like sometimes devotees even have to go, they have to surrender to going to take rest rather than staying up late at night and affecting their balance the next day. So we have to surrender, and when it's time for japa, we have to surrender to that, not like the mind goes somewhere else. This is japa time, let's chant the name clearly and listen to it. When classes, we never surrender to listening to that and trying to ask questions. And so it is all surrender, so it's a matter of being conscious of what we're doing and using that so we can make advancement, isn't it? Or when someone's instructing you, then surrendering to hearing that perhaps there's something for me to learn here. Perhaps Krishna sent someone along to say something so that I can benefit. Because sometimes we forget that when we reject something that devotee is saying, we may be just rejecting something that Krishna has inspired them to say for our benefit, so we're rejecting Krishna. And we think it's just this guy or this woman here, is telling me something.
Yeah, because we have to see that, living amongst devotees and performing devotional service, then Krishna's hand is in there, and Krishna's going to be directing us through the devotees. Is not only personally come to us. Generally, that's not the case, and so generally through the devotees we get the directions in which way to go, and so the devotees get inspired to say certain things, to point things out, so that to keep us in the right state of mind, and to guide us along the right path. So if we take it that's coming from Krishna, then we'll see him properly, and then we're more likely to follow, and we're not less likely to commit offences if we've seen it from that perspective.
Yeah, that's good, because certainly devotional service is not a 9 to 5 job, and I'm not referring to just physical work or work hours, but it's a devotional attitude by all the other aspects, and all the aspects of devotional service. If one has a proper approach to it, all these different aspects, then devotional attitude will improve. And so that's an important thing. That's why it's not just like we treat our service as a 9 to 5, and the rest of it is just has no bearing on anything else. It's not a job. Devotional service it's more than a vocation as well. Sometimes people go beyond the job and they get a vocation which is like prefer to work for peanuts to do something they believe in. But it's even more than that. It's a change of heart, isn't it?
And it's also like in the natural instruction it says that advancement is dependent on the attitude of the person. So it's our attitude that's really going to help us make advancement. It's not like the externals, it's the internals. So we could be doing the same, two devotees can do the same thing, but Krishna may be more pleased with one person than the other because of their attitude. So that's actually more important.
So what would you say is a good attitude to have? Or what would you say is a good mindset to adopt the right attitude?
We have to understand why we're doing it, who we're doing it for. Using Satchidananda Maharaj was saying that, in the beginning of the day, we have to remember that I am Krishna's servant, and whatever I'm doing is for his pleasure. So whatever we're doing, we have to have this consciousness that I am Krishna's servant, and I'm trying to do this to please him. So if we're having this attitude that whatever I'm doing it to please Krishna, please his devotees, then we're in the right mood, the right consciousness.
That's nice. So just referring to what we were talking about earlier on, the threefold miseries. So I think it was Srimad Swami that asked Lord Chaitanya, Amaya Jarita Patroya Hanahajanaki Wanakitahoy, who am I, why am I suffering threefold miseries, and how can I be benefited? So his mood is one of self-searching, and how can he be benefited? So he's looking to see how can I benefit from these threefold miseries which I'm undergoing. And then Lord Chaitanya, so you give the answer, he says that you're Jiva Swarupa Krishna into this. remember your Krishna is eternal servant. So this is obviously what you answered as well. This is the way to see through these different miseries, is remembering that we're Krishna's servant, eternal servant, and whatever we're going through is temporary. And if we keep Krishna as being the person who's dealing it, for a devotee to see Krishna's hand in it, then actually it doesn't become so submissive, it becomes a source of inspiration.
Yeah. And also, like, we may have to go through the same thing over and over again until we've actually learned something. So Krishna, he's waiting for us to kind of penny to drop, so that we can learn something from it. He's going to keep giving us the same test again and again until we've actually learned something and understood why we're going through it, and then until we've changed our attitude, then it will stop. But until then, we're going to keep getting the same thing. So we may get it from, somewhere on Sankirtan, we may get it from a devotee, we may get it from someone, because we have to learn to forgive, we have to learn to tolerate. So we'll get it from different sources, so that we come to the point of being able to learn to tolerate and forgive. And that's what Krishna wants. Once we develop that attitude, then we'll stop. We won't get those same problems. So, because Krishna wants to teach us something. So it's not like normal karma, it's Krishna's managing our karma and the devotees.
So why is it that, because it seems that we're either we're stupid or we're stubborn, that we don't learn. So why is it that we can't see what happens so many times? We keep on suffering the same pitfalls, so why we don't learn?
Because we don't see it's Krishna's hand. We don't see that, we think that, that person's against me, or this person's against me, or this person's giving me this suffering. We don't see it's Krishna's hand in it. But as soon as we start thinking, actually, before we react, we think, okay, what does Krishna want to learn from this? And how do I change my attitude? And so immediately we start thinking, okay, let me forgive that person right now before I go any further, So then we're learning, then we're applying the philosophy. We may know so many things, but it's hard to kind of apply the philosophy when we're faced with, all these problems. But that's the whole point. The point we're getting all these problems is we have to learn to do the right thing. And so like. We see so many great examples in the books. We read about Haridas Thakur, we read about Prahlad Maharaj, we read about Jad Bharat, and we think, okay, that's great, but it doesn't apply to me. I'm not on that level, and I can continue, being like this.
It seems like in theory we can all agree with it that it seems like a good thing to do, but in practice then we run a mile, or we become resentful or defensive or something.
Yeah. But this is the whole point of these books, is to show us this is how we're supposed to behave, this is how pure devotee behaves. So how do I get to this point of behaving like that? How does a saintly person behave? So I'm not on that level right now, but I need to get to that point, otherwise I'm going to be stuck in the material world for a long time, So we're not going to be able to go back to the spiritual world until we have become free from all these different anarthas, pride, envy, lust, anger, resentment. So we need to apply this in our own daily life. How do we actually kind of make the change in our heart? How do we progress from being the way I am to being like that? What do I need to change in my attitude and my consciousness? And we have to be introspective. And then when we start thinking like this, then we'll start thinking of how to improve our mentality, our attitude. And it's a work in progress. It's like the material world's like a hospital, and everyone's in a disease condition. And the whole point is we're trying to get healthy. So we need to come to the point of being in a healthy, spiritually healthy.
Yeah, that all makes sense. Because if we're actually looking to see how can we improve in devotional service, then we won't be fussing over like, well, that person could have said this in a nicer way, or because all these things seem to actually be excuses for us actually not to take it the lesson which we should be looking to learn ourselves. So even if it does come across, which is sometimes a bit unpalatable, I think it always benefits us to ask, well, what can I learn from this, even though it was a bit of a smack in the face, or came across a bit not exactly the way I wanted to. Sometimes it's just like, doesn't matter what way it's going to come, we're not going to want it anyway.
Yeah, and
unless you're wanting it, then you take it from wherever it's coming. A hungry person, they're not too fussy about what they eat.
yeah.
They're really hungry.
And the thing is, if we develop humility, that is actually the key point, that will be the tipping point where we'll be able to make advancement, because it's pride and envy that block us, from making advancement. But if we try to be humble, that's what Krishna is attracted to, and that's when we will attract Krishna, when we develop this humility. So really we need to learn how to be humble, and at every stage of our spiritual life we need to develop this humility, because even if we make advancement, if we become proud of our advancement, we'll commit offences against devotees, thinking that we're better than them or something, and then they'll go back down again and fall down. So at any stage in our spiritual life we have to try to develop this humility.
I was just thinking this morning, I struggle with humility, but I was thinking, how do you see others as better than you, that maybe you're materially less capable than you, or inept at certain things, and so you think, how can I be humble? I was thinking, one way you can be humble is by thinking, does Krishna like him or her more than me? Krishna is here right now in the room, and would I be that confident that Krishna likes me more than that? And I realised I wouldn't be actually. I'd be more inclined to think he probably likes them more than me. Like Mahatma was saying that joke, like he goes back to Godhead, and he can't believe who's there, all the spaced out practice there, the heavy temple commanders there, and the heavy Jada, which is annoyance there, and they're all looking at him saying, wow, what it is that you got here.
Yeah, we have to learn to see that Krishna may be seeing that person, what he's doing, he may be pleasing him, and it may not be pleasing us, the way he's doing things, but there's something that he's doing that's pleasing Krishna. So in Krishna, he doesn't see the faults, he only sees the good. So that's another high level of devotional service. Like generally in the material world, people see, like a critical person will just see the faults. Even if there's lots of good there, he won't see the good, he'll just see the faults. Somebody more advanced, he'll see the good and the bad. Prabhupada explains that in the Bhagavatam. He says that somebody on that level, he'll see the good and the bad. Somebody more advanced, he'll overlook the bad, he'll see the good and he'll overlook the bad. But somebody who's very, very advanced, the most advanced, even if there's so many faults and there's a little bit of good, he'll magnify that good. So not only does he overlook the bad, but he magnifies whatever little good there is. And that is somebody like Lord Shiva. Prabhupada explains that he's on that level where he magnifies the good that people do. So because he's such a great Vaishnava. So that's a very exalted level. So at least we can come to the point, of trying to overlook, we'll see the good and the bad, but we try to overlook the bad and try to see the good. And so we can become more advanced, it's like, it's higher and higher, and it all becomes apparent that the more advanced we are, the more humble we will be, and we'll see the good in others. Like the most advanced, like the abbot, like Jad Bharat, they don't even, they're not affected by, all the insults, all the, different Jad Bharat's getting just treated like dirt practically by his own stepbrothers, and he's getting insulted by all these people in the street who are behaving terribly towards him, but he doesn't take it, he doesn't become resentful, and he doesn't protest, and he doesn't try to, show that he's actually better. He's not affected by it all. It's very difficult to imagine not being affected by all that, but this is what we have to come to the point that we're not affected by all of these different things. Like Krishna says, one's not one's equal in happiness and distress, fame and infamy, honour and dishonour. It's like it's not very easy to come to that point,
Yes, I was reminded of a class by Jagannath Priya. Jagannath was a devotee who appeared to have reached that level in a different way. Well, that's he was on the level of Prabhupada, but it was just so dynamic in his service, in his preaching, and in his management, and in his affection for Srila Prabhupada, that he didn't have time for anything to bother him. It's just like he didn't have time for people who got caught up in issues, and he just kept himself away from that, so that he could just completely put all of his energy on serving Srila Prabhupada. And there seems there's several devotees. When you're reading the biographies of Srila Prabhupada, like Shamsu's biography and Balaji, lots of them, and that complete absorption in the service to the preaching mission is a way in which we haven't got time to get upset. And it's interesting, one class that Jagannath gave, he said that all the devotees in ISKCON are like actors in Lord Chaitanya's drama, and they've come, whether they've come from a higher level or whether they've just had the good fortune of coming into contact with that energy, they're now all part of the drama of spreading Krishna consciousness. And just like in a drama, like a TV series, when the actors are all on stage, then they're playing their roles, and when they're playing their roles, they haven't really got time to think about how what they're doing might upset another actor or anything like that, because they're just focused on the goal. But when they come off stage, then they have to identify with their real identity at that time, and not continue to ignore people they need to get, and then they need to remember, actually, I was playing a role there of doing the needful, but now I need to really respect all of the other actors, because I'm not on the stage now, I'm in my more intimate relationship with the devotees. And it says that, it gives the example that in the material world, people don't have that ability to do that. They become so conditioned by their material roles that they can't relate with each other as souls, as spirit souls. And he said it's just and he said a very graphic example of it is that when people watch soap operas, he mentions Coronation Street, and he says that every night 18 million people watch the activities of what's going on in the street in Manchester, and the street doesn't even exist. It's just like a film set, and they're so embroiled in that reality that if some of the characters get sick, they actually write letters in to ask how they are. Like you said, when one of the characters in Coronation Street got seriously ill, not in reality, more than 5,000 people wrote in to ask how they were. So it's just what that nice conversation we had with Bhagavatam and Dr. Krishna just reminded me of that, because I was just thinking of a way to, to meditate on the nice instructions that you were giving. It's also, Dr. Guru often gives that example that when you're trying to be attentive in your service or your japa, sometimes you go into a completely different frame of vision, where you become distracted by your ego, just like when you say you're looking in the shop window, and instead of looking at what you're supposed to be looking at in the shop window, you see your reflection, and you start looking at yourself. So it requires a mental effort to bring your consciousness back to who I am, and just like as you said, I'm a spirit soul trying to please Krishna. So I was saying, thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me to remember that point. I was going to ask another question, but I just thought, since that opportunity arose to just relate that story.
Thank you.
I don't know if you think it's relevant at all.
Oh, it's nice. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you for the discussion. Granthrashi Bhagavatam ki jai, Sangam ki jai, Shobha ki jai.